Comments for the week ending October 2nd from the beef farmers of Ontario. There are 365 head of fed steers and heifers sold through auction markets last week, down 238 head from the previous week. Fed steers averaged 310.44 per hundredweight, down 402 per hundred, and fed heifers averaged 315.67 per hundredweight, up 425 per hundred from the previous week's trade. Auction markets reported on Tuesday that fed steers and heifers sold slightly easier. By Thursday, fed steers and heifers sold $5 per hundredweight lower. In Ontario last week, a few cattle traded at $5.38 per hundredweight delivered to one of the smaller plants. For the week ending September 20th, Eastern fed cattle and cow exports to the U.S. were 3,437 head, 22% above last year and 57% above the 5-year average. Year-to-date, Eastern fed cattle and cow exports were 1% lower than last year. Cull cow receipts sold through auction markets last week were 1,656 head, down 260 head from the previous week. Cows averaged 188.02 per hundredweight, up 116 per hundred. Beef cows averaged 202.20 per hundredweight, up 4 cents per hundred from the previous week's trade. Auction markets reported that cows and bulls sold steady. Total receipts were 11,754 head last week. Receipts of 7,853 stocker and feeder cattle sold through Ontario auction markets, up 1,831 head from the previous week. Auction markets reported on Friday, September 26th, that calves sold fully steady and yearlings sold steady with grass types bringing a premium. By Thursday, a good offering of stockers sold actively at steady prices. The Quebec electronic market last week sold at $5.21 per hundredweight dressed on a picked-up basis, down $2 per hundred from the previous week's trade on average. Last week, Alberta fed prices began to moderate and traded steady in the low 3/10 per hundredweight. Dress sales were reported at $5.20 to $5.25 per hundredweight delivered, fully steady with the previous week. Competition on the cash market was mixed last week as packers seemed to be well positioned with cattle. Cattle that traded were scheduled for delivery throughout the month of November. By Thursday, October 2nd, light trade developed with dress sales reported from $5.07 to $5.16 per hundredweight delivered, $9 to $13 per hundredweight lower than the previous week. For the week ending September 27th, Western Canadian fed processing was 37,495 head, 15.6% lower than last year. The U.S. cash cattle trade last week saw dress sales in the northern feeding states reported at $3.60 per hundredweight, $5 per hundred lower than the previous week. Live sales in the northern feeding states were reported at $2.30 per hundredweight, $2 to $3 per hundred softer. Sales in Texas and Kansas were at $2.33 per hundredweight, $2 to $4 per hundredweight lower. Last week's cattle processed was estimated up at 557,000 head. For the beginning of October, this is the smallest processing volume since 2015. Despite historically small processing volumes, beef cutout values have struggled. As the U.S. government shutdown remains in place, many agriculture reports are delayed or unavailable. This is Jamie Kerr with the Beef Farmers of Ontario Market Information Report.